Hey T-Birds, it's Mrs. Deerstead. I'm going to take you back to freshman year with a couple of these problems. We'll be working with polynomials today, one of my faves. Here's your first problem. Please pause for work time. Okay, the first thing I want you to notice is the sign in between the two sets of parentheses. That's going to tell you what operation you're doing. So we're subtracting these two polynomials. We're going to remove the parentheses first, so nothing changes in the first polynomial. And then remember, when you have a minus sign in between, that negative sign needs to be distributed to all three terms, or however many terms you have over there. So what I'm going to do is just distribute that through so I don't forget that negative sign. So I have a negative 3x squared plus 4x minus 3. So it just changes all the signs in there. Then I like to play this underline game where I'm going to underline all my like terms, because when we're adding or subtracting polynomials, they have to be like terms. Apples plus apples equals apples. So I'm going to underline those alike, and I'm going to underline those alike. And then I'm just combining like terms. So I've got 4x squared minus 3x squared gives me 1x squared, or just x squared. 8x plus 4x is a positive 12x. So right now you're just doing exactly what the signs are telling you to do. And then you've got a positive 2 minus 3, which gives you negative 1. So the correct answer should have been D. Here's your second problem. Pause now. You'll notice in this one that the two sets of parentheses are squished together, which means that we're multiplying them. A binomial times a binomial, we use the FOIL method or double distribute, just depending on how you've heard it before. It all means the same thing. I'm going to talk about FOIL right now, which just stands for I want you to multiply your first terms together. X times x gives you x squared. Remember, when you're multiplying like bases, you add your exponents. Your outer terms, be careful when you're doing this because that's really a negative 5. The sign stays with the terms, so x times negative 5, negative 5x. Your inner terms, plus 3x. And your last terms, 3 times negative 5 gives you a negative 15. Now, before you stop the problem, you need to make sure if there are any like terms, which we have here, you need to combine those to simplify it as much as possible. You have negative 5x plus 3x, which gives you a negative 2x minus 15. So our answer on that one should have been C. And your last problem. Have fun. This last one is more of an Algebra 2 problem. We're dividing polynomials, and in order to simplify this, we have to make sure everything's in factored form. So first, you'll notice the bottom is just a binomial. There's nothing we can factor out of that. But the top, this trinomial, we're going to have to factor down before we can have our little cancel party. So if you remember back, a lot of us do this product sum chart where you put your A times C on top, your B term on bottom. If you don't remember where those come from, A is your number in front of the X term, B is your number in front of the X, and C would be your constant. Be careful and make sure you include your signs with your terms. So A times C is going to give us a negative 18, B is a positive 3, and here's the fun part. This is like a little puzzle. You're going to ask yourself, what numbers will multiply together to give you negative 18, but at the same time, if you were to add them, they would give you a positive 3. Now, you may need to go off to the side and list some factors of 18. 18 and 1, 9 and 2, 6 and 3 are the only ones I can think of. So out of those, which combinations could possibly give us a 3 if we were to add them together? I'm thinking 6 and 3 is going to be our best bet. Notice we need to get a negative 18, so one of our numbers is going to have to be negative, because a negative times a positive is a negative. But I need to get a positive 3, so I need to make my biggest number, 6, positive. If I add that with a negative 3, and then just double check, so do those multiply to give you negative 18? Yes. And then if I add those, do I get a positive 3? And I do, so we're in good shape. Basically, you just found your factors. There are two sets of parentheses, always when you're factoring a trinomial, And you can use the shortcut because your leading coefficient is 1. So basically I can just break up my x's. X times x is x squared. And then you found your factors. You found a positive 6 and a negative 3. So all of that over the x minus 3 in your denominator, that's already there. Once everything is factored down completely, then you can have your cancel party. This is the fun part where you get to slash things out. And I can slash that quantity with that quantity, which leaves us with just x plus 6 on top. So the correct answer should have been A.